Welcome back to the channel. Have you ever imagined that the small copper penny hiding in your pocket, your car's cup holder, or the dusty jar sitting quietly on a shelf in your house could secretly be worth an unbelievable fortune? The kind of fortune that can instantly change someone's life forever. Because right now collectors and treasure hunters across the world are obsessively searching for one mysterious coin that many people still overlook every single day: the legendary 1963 Lincoln Memorial Cent, a simple American penny that once had a face value of just 1 cent, but has shocked the coin collecting world with reports and rumors of specimens valued as high as $36 million. And the most unbelievable part is that some experts believe a few of these extraordinary coins may still be hiding in everyday circulation, quietly passing from hand to hand, while people unknowingly spend them on candy, coffee, or parking meters without realizing they may have just given away a life-changing treasure. The story of this coin begins during a fascinating moment in American coin history when the United States Mint was producing enormous quantities of pennies for a rapidly growing economy. Yet within those billions of ordinary coins, a few extremely unusual pieces managed to slip through the system, creating rare variations and striking anomalies that collectors would later discover decades afterward. The coin itself carries the timeless portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, a design originally created by artist Victor David Brenner back in 1909, making the Lincoln Cent one of the longest-running coin designs in American history, while the reverse of the 1963 penny features the iconic Lincoln Memorial Building in Washington, D.C., a symbol recognized by millions. Yet, within this familiar design lies a mystery that has driven collectors into a frenzy. Because certain rare 1963 pennies exhibit extremely unusual minting characteristics, including double strikes, die misalignments, off-metal compositions, and microscopic design anomalies that only a trained eye can detect, but which dramatically increase the coin's value to collectors who are willing to pay astonishing amounts to own one. Imagine a scenario where a coin worth only 1 cent suddenly becomes a multi-million-dollar artifact simply because of a tiny detail almost invisible to the naked eye. A detail that could easily be missed by someone quickly counting change at a store checkout counter. And that possibility is exactly why coin experts repeatedly warn people not to ignore old pennies, especially those minted in the early 1960s. Collectors explain that during this period, several experimental minting processes were tested and multiple production lines were running simultaneously, which sometimes resulted in extremely rare transitional pieces or accidental errors that escaped the quality control process. And while most coins were perfectly ordinary, a handful became legendary. Within the numismatic community, stories circulate online about collectors discovering rare coins in the most unexpected places, including inherited coin jars, flea markets, estate sales, and even loose change from grocery stores. And these stories fuel a growing sense of urgency among treasure hunters who now examine every old penny they find. One famous collector once described the moment he discovered a rare coin in a forgotten family collection, explaining that the realization hit him slowly as he noticed subtle details that didn't match standard coin references. And when the coin was eventually authenticated by professionals, its value skyrocketed into the millions, proving that sometimes the most ordinary objects can hide extraordinary secrets. This possibility is exactly what makes the hunt for rare pennies so thrilling, because unlike buried treasure or hidden gold bars, these coins can still appear in everyday life, quietly circulating among millions of people who have no idea what they are holding. The excitement surrounding the 1963 penny increased dramatically when collectors began documenting rare examples with unusual characteristics that set them apart from the billions of standard coins minted that year. And each discovery added another layer of mystery, pushing demand higher and higher as collectors competed fiercely to obtain the rarest versions. Some experts even speculate that undiscovered specimens may still exist in private collections where owners never realize their true significance, meaning the next major discovery could happen anywhere at any time. Imagine opening an old drawer in your home and finding a small pile of pennies, casually picking one up and noticing the date 1963 shining faintly on the surface, and suddenly realizing that this simple coin might be connected to one of the most exciting treasure hunts in modern coin collecting history. That moment of possibility is what drives thousands of collectors to examine their spare change with incredible attention to detail, using magnifying glasses, reference guides, and online forums to compare their coins with documented rarities. Coin collecting communities often share stories of astonishing finds, reminding newcomers that history has repeatedly proven that valuable coins can remain hidden in plain sight for decades. In fact, the history of American coins is filled with examples of pieces once considered ordinary later becoming incredibly valuable due to rarity, errors, or unique production circumstances, and this pattern is exactly why the 1963 penny continues to capture the imagination of collectors around the world. Every time someone mentions a coin potentially worth millions, curiosity spreads rapidly, encouraging more people to look through their change jars and forgotten piggy banks. The idea that a 1-cent coin could be worth $36 million feels almost unbelievable. Yet the coin market has repeatedly demonstrated that rarity, historical significance, and collector demand can combine to create extraordinary valuations. Auction houses and private collectors constantly search for unique pieces that complete their collections, and when a coin appears with characteristics never seen before, the competition to acquire it can become intense. Some collectors describe the thrill of the hunt as addictive, comparing it to solving a historical puzzle where each coin tells a story about the era in which it was produced. The 1963 penny represents a snapshot of early 1960s America, a time when coins were still made primarily from copper, and when manufacturing technology occasionally allowed small anomalies to slip through unnoticed. Those anomalies, once considered minor imperfections, are now celebrated as rare features that make certain coins incredibly valuable. As the years pass and more coins disappear into private collections, the remaining undiscovered examples become even more valuable, which is why experts repeatedly emphasize the importance of checking old coins carefully before spending them. Imagine the shock of realizing that a coin used to buy a snack yesterday might actually be worth millions today, a scenario that has happened before in the world of rare coins and could easily happen again. Collectors warn that once a rare coin enters circulation unnoticed, it may continue moving from person to person for years before someone recognizes its significance, which is why patience and curiosity are essential traits for anyone interested in coin collecting. The possibility that one of these rare 1963 pennies could still be hiding in circulation keeps the excitement alive, turning ordinary pocket change into a potential treasure hunt. People have discovered valuable coins in inherited collections, garage sales, old wallets, and even inside furniture, proving that history sometimes hides in the most unexpected places. And while not every 1963 penny is valuable, the small chance that one might be a rare variation worth millions is enough to make collectors examine every coin they encounter. This growing awareness has sparked a wave of online discussions, videos, and articles encouraging people to look twice at their spare change before ignoring it, because the next life-changing discovery could happen to anyone at any time. Imagine the moment when someone finally identifies a previously unknown rare 1963 penny, the excitement of authentication, the headlines spreading across the internet, and the realization that a tiny coin once worth a single cent has become one of the most valuable coins ever discussed in modern numismatic history. That possibility alone is enough to keep the legend alive and the search continuing, because somewhere out there a small copper coin from 1963 might still be waiting quietly in a jar, a drawer, or a pocket, completely unnoticed while carrying the potential to transform someone's life overnight. So before you spend your next penny, without thinking, take a second look at the date and details, because history has shown that the smallest coins can sometimes hide the biggest surprises. Next, 1961 D1 cent USA coin, What if the next time you dig through the loose coins in your pocket, your car console, or that forgotten jar sitting somewhere in your house, you unknowingly pick up a tiny copper penny that could be worth more money than a mansion, more than a luxury sports car collection, and possibly even more than an entire lifetime of work? Because collectors around the world have become obsessed with a mysterious coin that many people still treat like worthless spare change. The famous 1961 Lincoln Memorial Cent, a coin that originally had a face value of just 1 cent, but has stunned the numismatic world with claims and rare discoveries suggesting that certain extraordinary versions of this penny could reach astonishing values as high as $39 million. And the most shocking part of the story is that some experts believe a few of these coins may still be hiding in ordinary circulation right now, quietly passing from person to person while nobody realizes the incredible treasure they might be holding. The story begins during the early 1960s, when the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies every year to meet the demands of a growing American economy, and in 1961 the Denver facility produced enormous quantities of coins marked with the famous small d mint mark beneath the date, indicating they were struck at the Denver Mint. Yet within those billions of coins something extraordinary happened, because during large-scale coin production tiny variations sometimes occur due to mechanical adjustments, worn dies, experimental metal batches, or misalignments during the minting process, and those small anomalies created a handful of coins that were dramatically different from the ordinary pennies produced that year. The design itself is one of the most recognizable coin designs in American history, featuring the calm profile of Abraham Lincoln on the front, a design first introduced in 1909 and created by the sculptor Victor David Brenner, making the Lincoln Cent the first regular United States coin to feature a real historical figure instead of a symbolic image, while the reverse of the 1961 penny displays the iconic Lincoln Memorial Building in Washington, D.C., a structure that symbolizes the legacy of Lincoln's leadership and the nation's history. Yet within this familiar and ordinary appearance lies a mystery that has fascinated collectors for decades, because certain 1961 pennies have been discovered with unusual characteristics that dramatically increase their value, including double dies, die cracks, off-center strikes, rare metal compositions, and microscopic details that only experienced collectors can recognize. Imagine holding a coin that looks almost identical to every other penny in circulation yet contains a subtle detail that turns it from a 1-cent coin into a multimillion-dollar collectible. And that possibility is exactly why collectors carefully examine every old penny they encounter, because history has repeatedly proven that rare coins can hide in the most unexpected places. Throughout the decades, many remarkable discoveries have been made when people search through inherited coin collections, estate sales, flea markets, and even spare change received from stores. And every new discovery fuels the excitement of the hunt, because it proves that rare coins can remain hidden in plain sight for years before someone notices their importance. One experienced collector once described the thrill of finding a rare coin in an old jar of pennies inherited from a relative, explaining that at first the coin seemed completely ordinary until he noticed a strange doubling on the lettering and numbers, and after professional authentication the coin turned out to be worth thousands of times its original face value, a discovery that completely changed how he viewed every coin afterward. Stories like this spread quickly through collector communities and online forums, encouraging more people to search their change and examine older coins before spending them without a second thought. The 1961 penny became especially interesting to collectors because of the enormous production numbers combined with the possibility of rare minting errors that slipped past quality control. And while most coins from that year are worth only a few cents or dollars depending on condition, the rare error versions can become incredibly valuable due to their scarcity and historical significance. Collectors often explain that the value of a rare coin depends on a combination of factors including rarity, condition, historical context, and collector demand, and when all of those elements align, the result can be astonishing auction prices that surprise even experienced numismatists. The possibility that a penny minted more than 60 years ago could now be worth tens of millions of dollars sounds almost impossible. Yet the coin collecting world is full of similar stories where ordinary coins became legendary treasures because of small details that were overlooked for decades. Imagine the moment when someone casually sorting through a pile of coins suddenly notices the small D mint mark beneath the 1961 date and begins to wonder whether the coin might be one of the rare variations discussed among collectors. The curiosity growing as they compare the coin with reference images and descriptions online, and the excitement building as the possibility of a major discovery slowly becomes real. This sense of possibility is what makes coin collecting such an exciting hobby, because every coin has the potential to tell a story about the era in which it was produced, and sometimes those stories reveal unexpected mysteries that turn ordinary coins into extraordinary artifacts. The early 1960s were a fascinating time for American coinage because technology, production demand, and economic changes created a complex environment inside the minting facilities, and during periods of high output, even the smallest variations in die wear or machine calibration could produce coins with unique features that collectors later identify as rare errors. Over the years, numismatists have cataloged countless varieties of Lincoln cents, documenting the subtle differences that distinguish common coins from extremely rare ones. And this detailed research has helped collectors understand why certain pennies become incredibly valuable while others remain ordinary. The legend of the 1961 D penny worth millions continues to spread because people are fascinated by the idea that life-changing treasure might still exist in everyday objects, and this fascination encourages more people to examine their spare change instead of ignoring it. Imagine a scenario where a child receives a handful of pennies as change from a store, and one of those coins happens to be a rare 1961 D error worth millions. Yet it sits unnoticed in a piggy bank for years before someone finally recognizes its significance. A story that may sound unbelievable, but is entirely possible given the number of rare coins discovered in unexpected places throughout history. Collectors often remind beginners that the key to finding valuable coins is patience and attention to detail, because rare features can be extremely subtle and sometimes require magnification to detect. Yet the reward for discovering such a coin can be extraordinary. The excitement surrounding rare pennies has grown even stronger in the digital age because online communities allow collectors to share discoveries instantly, compare coins, and alert others about newly identified varieties, creating a global network of enthusiasts searching for hidden treasures in everyday change. Every time a rare coin is discovered, the news spreads rapidly, inspiring thousands of people to check their coin jars and collections in hopes of making a similar discovery. The idea that a 1-cent coin could be worth $39 million captures the imagination because it transforms something ordinary into something magical, turning a simple copper disc into a symbol of possibility and hidden wealth. Although not every 1961 D penny is valuable, the small chance that one might be a rare error coin keeps the hunt alive and encourages collectors to look closely at every coin they encounter. Experts often emphasize that condition also plays a crucial role in determining a coin's value, because coins that remain in pristine condition after decades of circulation are far rarer than worn examples. And when a rare variety is found in exceptional condition, the value can skyrocket dramatically due to intense demand from collectors competing to own the finest known specimen. Auction houses occasionally showcase rare coins that achieve astonishing prices because collectors recognize their historical importance and rarity. And each record-breaking sale reinforces the idea that coins are more than just money. They are pieces of history preserved in metal. The 1961 D penny represents a moment in time when billions of coins were produced for everyday commerce. Yet within that massive production, a few extraordinary pieces emerged that now capture the imagination of collectors worldwide. This contrast between ordinary and extraordinary is what makes the story so compelling, because it reminds us that valuable treasures can sometimes hide in the most familiar objects. Somewhere out there, a rare 1961 D penny may still be waiting to be discovered in a jar, a drawer, a wallet, or a forgotten box of old coins, quietly holding the potential to transform someone's life overnight. The next time you receive change at a store or stumble across an old collection of coins, remember that history has shown time and again that the smallest and most ordinary coins can sometimes carry the biggest surprises, and that is why collectors never ignore a penny without checking it first. The possibility that a simple 1-cent coin could be worth millions keeps the search alive and the excitement growing, because anyone, anywhere, could be the next person to uncover an incredible piece of numismatic history hidden in plain sight. And if stories about rare coins and hidden fortunes like this one fascinate you and make you curious about the coins sitting around your own home, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more unbelievable coin discoveries that could be hiding right in your pocket. Next, 1976 D1 USA coin. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a small copper penny that most people would normally ignore or toss into a jar without a second thought, and suddenly realizing that the tiny coin resting in your hand could secretly be worth more than a luxury mansion, more than a private jet, and possibly more than the lifetime earnings of many people combined. Because collectors and treasure hunters across the world have become fascinated by a mysterious coin that has turned an ordinary 1-cent piece into a legendary object of curiosity and excitement, the remarkable 1976 D Lincoln Memorial Cent, a coin that once carried a simple face value of just 1 cent but has been linked to astonishing stories within the coin collecting world, suggesting that certain rare versions could reach values as high as $27 million. And the most shocking detail is that experts believe a few of these coins may still exist unnoticed among everyday change, quietly passing from hand to hand, while people unknowingly spend them on small purchases without realizing they may have just given away a life-changing treasure. The story begins in 1976, a historic year for the United States because the nation was celebrating its 200th anniversary, an event widely known as the United States Bicentennial. And during that time, the United States Mint was producing massive quantities of coins to meet public demand, as millions of Americans collected commemorative currency and memorabilia celebrating the country's 2 centuries of independence. Yet, while most attention during the bicentennial was focused on special quarter, half-dollar, and dollar designs, billions of ordinary pennies were still being produced quietly in the background, including those struck at the famous Denver Mint, which were marked with a small D beneath the date. These pennies featured the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, a design originally created decades earlier by sculptor Victor David Brenner, making the Lincoln cent one of the longest-running coin designs in American history, while the reverse displayed the detailed image of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., a symbol recognized by millions of people around the world. Yet hidden among the billions of identical coins produced that year were a handful of unusual pieces that would later capture the attention of collectors because of subtle minting anomalies that transformed an ordinary penny into an extraordinary rarity. Coin production is a complex industrial process involving massive presses, metal blanks, and carefully engraved dies that stamp designs onto each coin at incredible speed. And during periods of high production, even the most advanced quality control systems cannot prevent every tiny variation from occurring, which means that occasionally a coin emerges with unusual features such as doubled lettering, off-center strikes, die cracks, missing design elements, or even unexpected metal compositions. While most of these variations are minor and go unnoticed by the public, certain rare combinations of errors can make a coin incredibly valuable because collectors prize unique pieces that tell a story about the minting process and the historical moment in which the coin was created. Over the years, numismatists have documented many unusual Lincoln cents from different decades, and the 1976 the penny gradually developed a reputation among collectors because a few extraordinary examples displayed characteristics that were far from ordinary, sparking curiosity and intense interest among experts, who began searching through old coin collections hoping to find similar pieces. Imagine someone opening a dusty jar of pennies that has been sitting on a shelf for decades, casually sorting through the coins until they noticed the date 1976 beneath a portrait of Lincoln and the tiny D mint mark indicating it was struck in Denver, and at first it appears to be just another penny among thousands. Yet a closer look reveals something unusual about the lettering or the alignment of the design, a detail that might seem insignificant but could potentially transform that coin into one of the most valuable pennies ever discussed among collectors. This possibility is what fuels the excitement surrounding rare coins, because it reminds people that hidden treasures do not always require deep caves or pirate maps to discover. Sometimes they simply wait patiently in everyday places like drawers, piggy banks, or forgotten envelopes of spare change. Throughout the history of coin collecting, many astonishing discoveries have been made when ordinary people examined coins they had owned for years without realizing their significance, and those discoveries often began with curiosity and a careful look at the details that most people overlook. Collectors use magnifying glasses, reference books, and online databases to study coins closely, comparing small features such as the shape of letters, the spacing between numbers, and the texture of the metal surface, because even the smallest difference can reveal whether a coin belongs to a rare variety. The legend of the 1976 penny worth millions has grown over time, because each new story encourages more people to search their own coins, creating a worldwide treasure hunt that continues to expand as collectors share discoveries online and discuss unusual specimens found in unexpected places. The coin collecting community often reminds beginners that valuable coins are not always discovered by professional experts. Many have been found by ordinary individuals who simply decided to look closely at the coins they already owned. Imagine the excitement of realizing that a coin you have carried in your pocket or stored in a jar for years might actually be connected to one of the most fascinating mysteries in modern numismatics, a discovery that could instantly transform a simple 1-cent piece into a multi-million-dollar artifact. This sense of possibility has inspired thousands of people to examine their spare change more carefully than ever before, especially when they encounter older coins from the 1960s and 1970s, because these decades produced billions of pennies yet also created rare varieties that collectors now search for passionately. Experts explain that the value of a coin depends on several important factors including rarity, condition, demand, and historical significance. And when a coin combines all of these qualities, it can achieve extraordinary prices at auctions where collectors compete fiercely to own a piece of history. Pristine coins that remain in exceptional condition are particularly valuable because most coins from earlier decades have been worn down through years of circulation, making well-preserved examples extremely rare. When a rare variety is discovered in nearly perfect condition, the value can rise dramatically because collectors recognize that such coins may be the finest known examples in existence. Stories about valuable pennies often spread rapidly because the idea that a 1-cent coin could be worth millions feels almost unbelievable. Yet the history of numismatics contains many examples of coins that were once common but later became extremely valuable due to rarity and collector interest. The fascination with the 1976 penny reflects a broader truth about coin collecting. Every coin carries a piece of history, and sometimes that history includes unexpected twists that transform ordinary currency into priceless artifacts. Somewhere out there, a rare 1976 penny may still be waiting quietly in a forgotten collection or a jar of spare change, completely unnoticed, while holding the potential to change someone's life overnight. That possibility keeps collectors motivated and curious, encouraging them to examine every coin they encounter rather than dismissing it as worthless. The next time you receive a handful of change, or come across an old stash of pennies, take a moment to look carefully at the dates and mint marks, because history has proven that valuable coins can remain hidden in plain sight for decades before someone finally recognizes them. The search for rare coins is not only about money but also about discovery, curiosity, and the excitement of uncovering a small piece of history that survived through time. And at the idea that a tiny penny from 1976 could secretly be worth millions sparks your curiosity and makes you wonder whether hidden treasures might be waiting in your own pocket or coin jar right now. Then make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more incredible stories about rare coins and unbelievable discoveries that could be hiding in the most ordinary places. Next, 1973 1-cent USA coin. What if the next time you casually reach into your pocket or pick up a few coins from a table you unknowingly hold a tiny copper piece that could be worth more money than luxury homes, sports cars, and even decades of hard work combined? Because collectors around the world are increasingly fascinated by a mysterious penny that once circulated as ordinary change, but is now surrounded by stories of astonishing value. The legendary 1973 Lincoln Memorial Cent, a simple American 1-cent coin that originally had a face value of just a single cent yet has captured the imagination of the numismatic community with reports and collector speculation that certain rare versions could reach values as high as $28 million. And the most surprising part of this story is that many experts believe some of these unusual coins may still be hiding quietly in everyday circulation, passing from one person to another without anyone realizing that the small copper coin they just used to buy something trivial might actually be one of the most valuable pennies ever discussed. The story begins during the early 1970s, when the United States Mint was producing enormous quantities of pennies every year to support a growing economy where coins were used constantly in daily transactions. And in 1973, the mint facilities in Philadelphia Mint and Denver Mint struck billions of Lincoln cents that looked almost identical to one another, each carrying the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front and the detailed image of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a design originally created by sculptor Victor David Brenner decades earlier and introduced in 1909 to honor Lincoln's legacy. Yet hidden among those billions of coins were a few extraordinary pieces created by subtle minting anomalies that turned an ordinary penny into something collectors would one day consider incredibly valuable. Coin production inside a mint is an intense industrial process, involving massive presses striking metal blanks at incredible speed, sometimes hundreds of coins every minute, and during such high-volume production, even the smallest change in die alignment, pressure, metal composition, or equipment work can create unusual variations that slip past inspection and enter circulation, which means that a coin with a tiny difference in lettering, numbers, or alignment may become a rare collectible once collectors discover and document the variation years later. This is exactly what happened with certain 1973 pennies when attentive collectors began noticing subtle anomalies such as doubled lettering, slightly off-center strikes, die cracks, unusual surface textures, and other microscopic features that made specific coins dramatically different from the ordinary ones produced that year. And as word of these discoveries spread through coin collecting circles, the demand for unusual 1973 pennies began to grow, turning what once seemed like common spare change into a fascinating treasure hunt. Imagine opening a jar filled with pennies that have been sitting untouched for decades, perhaps coins saved by a parent or grandparent long ago, and as you slowly sort through them you notice a coin with the date 1973 shining faintly beneath Lincoln's portrait. At first it seems completely ordinary, just like thousands of other pennies produced that year. But curiosity encourages you to examine it more closely under light or magnification, and suddenly you notice a small detail that looks slightly different from typical coins. Maybe the lettering appears doubled or the design seems slightly misaligned. And that moment of curiosity begins to grow into excitement as you realize that the coin in your hand might be connected to one of the most intriguing mysteries in modern coin collecting history. Stories like this have fueled the imagination of collectors for decades because rare coins have often been discovered in the most unexpected places, including spare change from stores, inherited collections, flea markets, estate sales, and even inside old furniture or forgotten envelopes, proving that valuable coins sometimes remain hidden in plain sight for years before someone recognizes their significance. Collectors often describe the thrill of the hunt as the most exciting part of the hobby, because every coin represents a small piece of history, and occasionally one of those pieces turns out to be far more important than anyone expected. The fascination with the 1973 penny worth millions is not simply about money but about the idea that something incredibly valuable could exist within an object most people ignore every day, reminding us that history and mystery sometimes hide within the simplest items. Throughout the decades, numismatists have carefully studied Lincoln cents, cataloging countless varieties and documenting the tiny differences that separate ordinary coins from rare ones. And this research has helped collectors understand why some pennies become extraordinarily valuable while others remain common. The value of a rare coin depends on several important factors including rarity, condition, demand among collectors, and the historical circumstances surrounding its creation. And when all of these elements combine, the result can be astonishing auction prices that capture headlines and inspire new generations of collectors to start searching their own coins. Imagine the excitement of discovering that a coin you once considered worthless could actually represent a multi-million-dollar treasure, a realization that has happened before in the world of numismatics, and could easily happen again, because rare coins continue to appear in unexpected places even decades after they were minted. The early 1970s were a particularly interesting period for coin production, because economic changes and increasing demand for coins required mints to operate at extremely high capacity, and during such intense production environments, minor variations sometimes slipped through the quality control process, creating unique coins that later became prized collectibles. Over time, collectors began to recognize that certain 1973 pennies displayed unusual characteristics not seen in standard coins. And as these discoveries accumulated, the legend of the valuable 1973 penny grew stronger, inspiring more people to examine their change carefully instead of ignoring it. Online communities, coin forums, and collector groups frequently share stories about rare coin discoveries, reminding newcomers that the next great find could be hiding in a simple jar of spare change somewhere in the world. This possibility keeps the excitement alive, because unlike many other forms of treasure hunting that require expensive equipment or travel, coin collecting can begin with nothing more than curiosity and a careful look at the coins already in your possession. Somewhere out there, a rare 1973 penny may still be waiting quietly in circulation, perhaps inside a piggy bank, a drawer, or a forgotten envelope, completely unnoticed while holding the potential to transform someone's life overnight. That idea alone is enough to inspire collectors to keep searching, examining every penny they encounter for clues that might reveal something extraordinary, even if the chance of finding a multi-million-dollar coin is small. The thrill of possibility makes every coin worth a second look, because history has repeatedly proven that valuable coins can remain undiscovered for decades before finally revealing their secrets. The next time you see a penny lying on the ground or receive one as change, remember that it may not be as ordinary as it appears, because within the world of coin collecting, even the smallest coin can sometimes carry the biggest surprise. And the story of the 1973 penny worth $28 million continues to capture imaginations everywhere, encouraging people to look twice at their spare change and wonder whether the next incredible discovery might be waiting right in their pocket at this very moment. Now imagine the moment when someone somewhere begins looking more carefully at a pile of old pennies collected over many years, perhaps coins that were saved in a glass jar, passed down through family members, or forgotten in a drawer for decades, And among those coins sits another ordinary-looking 1973 Lincoln Memorial cent that seems no different from any other penny at first glance. Yet when examined closely, the small details begin to tell a different story, because coin collectors know that tiny differences in lettering, spacing, metal tone, and strike alignment can transform a common coin into a legendary rarity. This is exactly why experienced collectors often spend hours studying coins under magnification, carefully comparing them with official reference images and catalogs that document rare varieties. Because the smallest variation can reveal whether a coin belongs to a unique minting event that occurred decades ago inside the production lines of the United States Mint. During the early 1970s, the Mint was producing enormous numbers of pennies to meet demand across the country, and such massive production required continuous operation of high-speed presses at facilities like the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint, where thousands of metal blanks were struck into coins every minute. And although strict quality control systems were in place, the reality of industrial manufacturing meant that occasional irregularities could occur, resulting in coins with doubled dies, slightly shifted designs, off-center impressions, or other rare features that collectors later identify as valuable mint errors. These anomalies are fascinating because they represent moments when the precision of a massive production system briefly slipped, creating coins that were never meant to exist yet somehow escaped into circulation where they quietly blended with billions of normal coins. For decades, many of these unusual pennies went unnoticed because people rarely examined their spare change closely. But as interest in coin collecting grew and information became easier to share online, collectors began discovering more examples and documenting them carefully, turning the 1973 penny into an object of curiosity and excitement within the numismatic world. Imagine the thrill of discovering that a coin sitting unnoticed in a jar for years might actually belong to a rare variety discussed by collectors across the globe, a realization that could transform an ordinary moment into an unforgettable discovery. This sense of possibility is exactly what keeps the hunt alive, because history has repeatedly shown that rare coins can remain hidden for generations before finally being recognized for what they truly are. Many remarkable coin discoveries began with simple curiosity when someone decided to check an old collection or examine coins received as change from a store. And these discoveries often reveal how easily valuable coins can slip through everyday transactions without anyone noticing their significance. The idea that a penny once worth just a single cent might now be associated with a value of $28 million captures the imagination because it demonstrates how rarity, history, and collector demand can combine to create extraordinary value from something so small and ordinary. Collectors often describe the excitement of holding a coin that survived decades of circulation yet still retains details sharp enough to reveal its origin and unique characteristics, because each coin carries a silent story about the time and place where it was created. The familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front of the coin reminds collectors that the Lincoln said design has remained a symbol of American history for more than a century. Originally introduced by artist Victor David Brenner and still recognized instantly by millions of people around the world. When collectors examine a 1973 penny, they often focus on the fine details around Lincoln's portrait, the shape of the numbers and the date, and the structure of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, because these small design elements sometimes reveal subtle clues about the minting process that produced the coin. Certain rare coins display doubled lettering where the design appears slightly repeated due to a misaligned die, while others may show unusual spacing or faint outlines that indicate the die shifted during striking, and these characteristics are precisely the kinds of features that can transform an otherwise ordinary penny into a rare collectible worth extraordinary amounts of money. Although not every 1973 penny has these features, the possibility that one might exist in circulation keeps collectors motivated to keep searching, because every coin represents a chance to uncover something unique. The world of numismatics is filled with stories of incredible discoveries, where coins once ignored as ordinary later became prized. collectibles once their rarity was understood, and these stories inspire new collectors to join the search and examine their own coins more carefully. Imagine the excitement spreading through collector communities if another rare 1973 penny were discovered today, authenticated by experts, and confirmed to be one of the rare varieties associated with extraordinary value. The news would travel quickly across online forums, collector clubs, and auction houses, reminding everyone that valuable coins can still appear unexpectedly even decades after they were minted. This ongoing possibility is what makes coin collecting such a fascinating hobby, because it combines history, curiosity, and the thrill of discovery into one simple activity that anyone can begin with the coins they already have. Somewhere in the world, a jar of pennies might still contain a rare 1973 coin waiting quietly to be noticed. Perhaps stored in a kitchen drawer, a desk compartment, or a forgotten piggy bank where it has remained untouched for years. The person who eventually discovers it might initially believe it is just another penny, until a closer look reveals a subtle difference that sparks curiosity and leads to further investigation. That moment of realization, when an ordinary coin suddenly becomes something extraordinary, is the dream that keeps collectors searching day after day. The legend of the 1973 penny worth millions continues to grow because every generation discovers new details about coins from the past, and every new discovery adds another piece to the puzzle of understanding how rare varieties were created. The next time you see a penny lying on the ground, sitting on a counter, or mixed in with your spare change, remember that it might not be as ordinary as it appears, because history has shown that even the smallest coin can sometimes hide the biggest surprise. And the story of the 1973 Lincoln Memorial set continues to remind collectors everywhere that hidden treasures may still be waiting quietly in everyday places, ready to be discovered by someone curious enough to take a closer look. So before you ignore that next penny you see, check the date carefully, because it might just be the coin that changes everything. And if you enjoy exploring incredible stories about rare coins and hidden fortunes like this one, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay connected for more unbelievable discoveries that might be hiding in your own pocket change right now. Next, 1968 1-cent USA coin. What if the next time you empty your pockets after a long day or reach into a small jar of spare change sitting quietly in your home, you unknowingly pick up a tiny copper coin that most people consider nearly worthless, yet collectors believe could secretly hold a value greater than luxury mansions, rare art collections, or even entire businesses? Because among the billions of pennies produced in American history, there is one coin that continues to spark curiosity, excitement, and intense discussion among coin collectors around the world: the legendary 1968 Lincoln Memorial Cent. A coin that originally had a face value of just 1 cent but has become surrounded by astonishing stories suggesting that certain rare examples may reach values as high as $31 million. And the most unbelievable part of this story is that experts believe some of these extraordinary coins may still be hiding quietly in everyday circulation, slipping through cash registers, coin jars, and pockets, while people unknowingly spend them on ordinary purchases without realizing they may have just handed away a life-changing treasure. The story begins during the late 1960s, when the United States Mint was producing enormous quantities of pennies to keep up with the growing demand of an expanding economy. And in 1968, billions of Lincoln cents were struck at facilities such as the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint, each coin carrying the familiar and historic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, a design originally created by sculptor Victor David Brenner in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, making the Lincoln cent one of the most recognizable coins in the world, while the reverse side featured the iconic Lincoln Memorial Building in Washington, D.C., a structure that symbolized the enduring legacy of Lincoln's leadership and the ideals he represented. Yet hidden among the billions of nearly identical coins produced that year were a handful of unusual pieces created by subtle variations during the minting process. tiny anomalies that would later capture the attention of collectors and transform ordinary pennies into legendary rarities. Coin production inside a mint is an incredible industrial process where massive machines strike metal blanks with engraved dies at astonishing speeds, sometimes producing hundreds of coins every minute. And although the mint employs strict quality control procedures to ensure uniformity, the reality of large-scale manufacturing means that occasional irregularities can occur when a die becomes worn, slightly misaligned, or damaged, and when this happens, the resulting coins may display unique features such as doubled lettering, shifted images, off-center strikes, or fine cracks in the design that make them different from standard coins. While these variations might seem insignificant to someone casually spending change, they can be extremely important to collectors, who carefully study every detail of a coin's design in search of rare varieties. Over time, numismatists began noticing that certain 1968 pennies displayed unusual characteristics that distinguished them from the ordinary coins produced in that year. And these discoveries sparked curiosity and debate within the coin collecting community as experts attempted to understand how such variations occurred and how many of these rare coins might exist. Imagine someone sorting through a collection of old pennies saved over decades, perhaps coins inherited from a family member or gathered casually over the years, and among those coins appears a 1968 penny that looks almost identical to thousands of others. Yet, when examined closely under good lighting or magnification, a small detail seems unusual. Maybe the letters appear slightly doubled, or the numbers in the date look slightly shifted. And that tiny detail becomes the beginning of an exciting discovery, because collectors know that even the smallest difference can signal the presence of a rare coin. The thrill of such discoveries is exactly what makes coin collecting so fascinating, because valuable coins do not always hide in distant treasure chests or secret vaults. Sometimes, they simply wait patiently among ordinary coins until someone curious enough decides to look carefully. Throughout the history of numismatics, many extraordinary discoveries have been made in the most unexpected places, including flea markets, estate sales, inherited coin jars, and even spare change received from stores, proving that rare coins can remain unnoticed for decades before finally being recognized. The legend of the 1968 penny worth millions continues to grow because stories of rare coin discoveries spread quickly across collector communities, inspiring more people to examine their own coins and wonder whether they might be holding something extraordinary without realizing it. Collectors often explain that the value of a rare coin depends on several factors, including rarity, condition, demand among collectors, and the historical circumstances surrounding its creation. And when a coin possesses all of these qualities, it can achieve astonishing prices at auctions where collectors compete fiercely to add rare pieces to their collections. Condition is particularly important because coins that survive decades of circulation with minimal wear are extremely rare, and when a rare variety is found in excellent condition, the value can increase dramatically due to intense demand from collectors seeking the finest known examples. Imagine the moment when someone realizes that a small penny they once considered worthless might actually be worth millions of dollars, a realization that can transform an ordinary day into an unforgettable event. Such discoveries remind people that history often hides in plain sight, waiting for someone to notice the details that others overlook. The 1968 Lincoln cent represents a fascinating moment in American coinage history when billions of coins were produced to serve everyday commerce. Yet within that massive production, a few unique pieces emerged that now capture the imagination of collectors worldwide. Each of those coins carries a silent story about the moment it was created inside a minting press decades ago. And today collectors search for those stories by examining coins carefully and comparing them with documented varieties. The possibility that a rare 1968 penny might still exist somewhere in circulation keeps the excitement alive because anyone could potentially discover it in a jar, a drawer, or even in the change received from a store. The search for rare coins is not only about financial value, but also about curiosity and discovery, because every coin connects us to the past and reveals something about the time in which it was produced. When collectors hold an old penny, they often imagine the countless hands it may have passed through over the years and the everyday transactions it may have witnessed before finally finding its way into a collection or a forgotten corner of a home. The idea that a simple coin could travel through decades of history and still hold secrets waiting to be discovered is what makes the world of coin collecting so endlessly fascinating. Somewhere out there, a rare 1968 penny may still be waiting quietly to be found, perhaps inside a dusty jar of coins, a desk drawer, or a forgotten box tucked away in an attic, completely unnoticed while carrying the potential to change someone's life overnight. That possibility encourages collectors everywhere to examine their spare change carefully rather than ignoring it, because history has shown that even the smallest coin can sometimes hide the biggest surprise. The next time you receive a penny as change or see one lying on the ground, take a closer look at the date and details, because it might not be as ordinary as it seems. And the story of the 1968 Lincoln Memorial set worth millions continues to inspire curiosity among collectors, who know that hidden treasures sometimes appear in the most familiar places. As the fascination with the 1968 Lincoln Memorial set continues to spread among collectors and everyday people alike, more and more stories emerge about how rare coins are sometimes discovered in the most unexpected ways. And these stories keep the excitement alive because they remind everyone that valuable coins do not always appear in museums or high-end auctions first. Sometimes they begin their journey quietly in the pockets of ordinary people who never realized the importance of what they were carrying. Imagine a person cleaning an old drawer that has not been opened in years and finding a small envelope filled with pennies collected decades earlier, perhaps coins saved by a parent or grandparent who simply liked keeping old change. And among those coins sits a 1968 penny that looks completely normal at first glance. The same familiar design that millions of people have seen countless times, featuring the portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front and the detailed Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Yet curiosity leads the person to take a closer look and compare the coin with images shared by collectors online, and suddenly the tiny details begin to stand out in ways they never noticed before. Coin collectors often explain that the difference between a common coin and a rare one can sometimes be incredibly subtle, involving slight doubling in the letters, a shifted strike that moved the design slightly off-center, or even faint lines that indicate a die crack during the minting process, all of which are clues that something unusual happened during the coin's creation at the United States Mint. During the late 1960s, the Mint was operating at an enormous scale to produce enough coins for everyday transactions across the country, and facilities like the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint were striking coins at incredible speeds, sometimes hundreds per minute, which meant that even with strict quality checks, a few irregular coins could occasionally slip through unnoticed and enter circulation. Those rare coins would then travel through years of transactions, passing through countless hands, vending machines, and cash registers, quietly blending in with ordinary coins while carrying small differences that only trained collectors would eventually recognize decades later. The idea that a tiny 1-cent coin from 1968 might now be associated with a value as high as $31 million captures the imagination, because it transforms something almost everyone has seen into something extraordinary, reminding people that hidden value can sometimes exist in the simplest objects. Collectors often describe the moment of discovery as a mixture of disbelief and excitement, because when someone first suspects they may have found a rare coin, the realization often feels too incredible to be true, leading them to examine the coin repeatedly under magnification and compare it with reference guides to confirm what they are seeing. Online communities dedicated to coin collecting frequently share images and discussions about unusual coins, helping collectors learn how to identify rare varieties and encouraging newcomers to examine their own coins more carefully. These communities have grown rapidly in recent years, because the internet makes it easier than ever for collectors around the world to share discoveries instantly and collaborate on identifying rare pieces, turning the search for valuable coins into a global treasure hunt that continues to expand. With every news story, imagine the excitement spreading through such communities if someone were to post photographs of a newly discovered 1968 penny showing features never documented before. Collectors would immediately begin studying the images, comparing them with known varieties, and discussing the possibility that a new rarity had been found. The coin would likely be examined by professional graders and historians who specialize in authenticating rare coins, and if confirmed as a unique or extremely rare variety, the discovery could instantly become one of the most talked about events in modern numismatics. Such moments are rare, but they do happen, and each time they occur, they remind collectors that even after decades of research, there are still mysteries waiting to be uncovered within the billions of coins produced throughout history. The enduring appeal of the Lincoln set design created by Victor David Brenner is part of what makes these discoveries so meaningful, because the coin represents more than just currency, it represents a piece of American history carried through generations. When someone holds a penny minted in 1968, they are touching a small artifact from a time more than half a century ago, a period when the world was experiencing social change, technological progress, and evolving economic systems. And that coin may have traveled through countless hands since the moment it was struck inside a minting press. Each scratch, mark, or subtle variation tells a story about that journey, and occasionally those stories include rare minting events that transform the coin into a valuable collectible. The possibility that a rare 1968 penny might still be hiding somewhere keeps collectors motivated to continue searching through old collections and spare change. Because history has shown that important discoveries often happen when someone decides to look more carefully at something others ignored. Even today, people occasionally report finding rare coins in unexpected places such as garage sales, flea markets, or inherited collections where coins were stored away for years without anyone examining them closely. These discoveries serve as reminders that the world of coin collecting is full of surprises, and that valuable pieces of history may still be waiting quietly to be discovered. Somewhere right now, there may be a small jar of pennies sitting on a shelf in a home, containing coins gathered over decades of everyday transactions, and among those coins could be a 1968 penny with unusual characteristics that nobody has noticed yet. The person who eventually examines the jar might initially believe it contains nothing more than ordinary spare change. Yet a closer look could reveal something extraordinary that changes their understanding of the coin completely. Moments like that are what make the search for rare coins so exciting, because the discovery of a single coin can transform a simple hobby into an unforgettable experience, and sometimes even a life-changing event. The story of the 1968 penny valued at millions continues to inspire curiosity and encourage people to look twice at the coins they encounter every day, because while most pennies remain ordinary, the small chance that one might be extraordinary is enough to keep the legend alive. The next time you see a penny resting on a table, lying on the ground, or mixed into your spare change, pause for a moment and take a closer look at the date and details, because history has proven that even the smallest coin can sometimes carry the biggest surprise. And the mystery surrounding the 1968 Lincoln Memorial set continues to remind collectors and curious observers everywhere that hidden treasures may still exist within the simplest pieces of everyday currency, waiting patiently for someone observant enough to recognize their true significance. And if stories like this spark your curiosity about the coins you see every day and make you wonder whether a hidden fortune could be sitting quietly in your own pocket or coin jar, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more incredible stories from the world of rare coins, where the smallest discoveries can sometimes lead to the biggest surprises.